How bad is the drug problem, actually?
21-year-old engineering student, and she's addicted to heroin. And then 2 weeks later, this is Adderall as well. They chop it up into a fine powder. If they snort it, it hits the brain different. He didn't know this kid, but that was crystal meth. For the male, there's a lot of homosexual tendencies for crystal meth users. There's a heroin addict I know, Minanna, I put in rehab, got cleaned up, beautiful family, great guy. Halafle, he goes, Ali, they come to my house and they just give it to me for free. Just take it. Because they know as soon as he takes it, he's calling them the next day, hey, I need more. I've seen the drugs and the selling of their bodies. Let's help each other, man. Wallah, there's Yemenis dying, Palestinians dying, Lebanese dying, Iraqi dying, Syrians dying, Egyptians are dying. They're all addicted.
These are harsh words that you're saying.
This is reality, brother. If anyone wants to challenge it, I'd be happy to challenge it. I'm on the streets, I see it. Parents to this day resent us. They put the blame on us.
There's no way that doesn't break your heart.
Man, it destroyed me. What do you mean? Hey, at a funeral, I walk in and I just go pay my respects. And he's like, how are you gonna say that to me? I'm at the funeral. He's laying here. It hurts. You love that kid. I loved him. He was like a brother. I raised him. The guy still talks about me like as if I did something. Blood, sweat, and tears. Our own money out of our pockets. Our own time away from our children and our wives. And
you've been through this script too many times. Where have you found the best way to start when trying to tackle this issue?
It hasn't always worked. More times it has than it hasn't.
Ali has this very unique experience in life where he is constantly surrounded by you through the programs that he created and the centers that he created. We talk about sports and how important that is to kids and why he wanted to connect all types of kids through sports. But then, and this is like the darker side of the podcast, and this is where I have to give you a warning, that he also works with kids that are going through substance use issues. You need to have the heart for it to listen to what we're about to say. I don't want to spoil this for you, but all I want to say is I'm very picky in what conversations I put forward for you to listen to, because I feel like you gave me this responsibility of delivering conversations that you want to hear. Trust me when I tell you this is not a conversation that you want to miss. This podcast episode is my longest yet, and it's for a very good reason. And with that being said, I want you to have a blessed and great month of Ramadan. I want you to do your best and be your best and really take this month as a spiritual transformation. I can't wait for you to listen to all the conversations I have in store for you this month. Now let's get the show started.
Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب بمدينة تونس العربية.
Ali, I always like to start this off with self-reflection on your part. And I can introduce you, but we were just talking about how you've done these before, and they'll always say, Ali, founder of Hype, safe program. But when you go home and right before you go to bed, you look in the mirror, who is that guy to you?
a father, a son, and hopefully a servant to Allah.
Why do you think those are important in that order?
In this life, my responsibility is to my family, my children, my wife. And in this life, it's obligatory for me to make sure my parents are proud of me and happy and radin alayya, as they say. And to continue to receive the blessings we receive and have received, it's very important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also very pleased with you.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're doing a good job?
I can't judge myself, but others can judge if they'd like. I hope so. Yeah, I mean the as they say, proof is in the pudding, right? Hype has grown. We've served tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people. I give credit to Allah for everything we do. But, he even told Prophet Muhammad in Surah Al-Nasr, فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. So you still, you have to say Alhamdulillah and Astaghfirullah, just in case.
Yeah.
Because the shaitan is very deceitful.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? Because, like you said, I think what you just said is a lot of people's mindset and mentality. Like, other people can say if I'm a good son or I'm a good father, but I wonder why we don't like I feel like we should also be able to reflect on that and know if we're doing a good job, because it's important for you to keep that metric. Like, okay, I did do good here. Oh, maybe here I should have done a little better. It's like with everything.
I was at a funeral for Hajj Brahim Jus Beydoun, and Judge Hajj David Turfy was up on the podium speaking right before they took the casket to the cemetery. And he said something that I think I'll remember for the rest of my life. He said, "This man has prepared for this day his whole life." Right? So to reflect and to say, is God pleased with me? The only way to answer that, in my opinion, is if we were to die today, are you satisfied? Like, could you go and be like, all right, I did my thing, I'm done? Can you answer that question? I answer that question to myself, and I say, yeah, I'm good, I'm ready, take me. That's the answer. Is he pleased with me? Is that I have the feeling in my heart that if I were to die, I'm not worried, as they should say, right?
Yeah.
I'm not worried. I don't think that the creator, my creator, is upset with me. I know my intention. I know what I've tried to do, and I'm good.
That's a good way to put it. You ask yourself, if tonight was the last time I go to bed and I don't wake up in the morning, am I okay? Like, instinctually, in my heart of hearts.
Based on our belief.
Yes.
You're going to get judged for you and only you.
Exactly.
Do I want to go today?
No.
Not because I'm afraid of death or I'm afraid of the judgment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, I'm afraid for my children in this world, this cruel, mean world. That's what I'm only afraid of.
I would also like to refine myself a little more before I meet God. I feel like, like if I had to go today, I'm okay. But do I want to go? Maybe I want to become a little better. Maybe climb up the ladder a little bit more. Maybe. That's my thought process.
There's so much height.
Yeah.
That we can grow, all of us.
Yeah,
I agree. I would love to, but this is the path I have.
Yeah,
is to do what I'm doing. But I envy, and I can only envy the people who are closer to Allah.
Right.
So I envy those people that have memorized the whole Quran, and that have the time and the ability to make every Friday prayer and every dua kamal. It's not possible sometimes, so I envy those people. I'm allowed to.
Yeah. And I feel like when your intentions are pure, you actually try your best.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you like what you do?
I love what I do.
What do you do?
What don't I do? I answer phone calls in the middle of the night from parents whose kids are on drugs. But let me start from the beginning. I want to see myself I want to describe myself as a bridge builder between young kids of different races and religions, using sports as the facilitator for that. I coach, I mentor, I lead, I guide, I motivate, I build relationships. I try to be a role model for myself, for my children, for my siblings, for my community.
You're very people-oriented.
I love people. Absolutely. I love all people. I'm so glad that I'm so past that. I don't have that issue in my mind where I don't look at any ethnicities or any races or any religions, and I can't communicate with them, or I have like any spite or hate in me for them. I'm so glad I don't have that.
Do you think people are born like that? Like you're born where, like some people are just born where they're just good at communicating with all races
No.
and you don't think so?
No, Allah created us perfect. It's afterwards, the environment that we put ourselves in, that distract us from that. No, it's so many influences and distractions in this world. I mean, sometimes even, unfortunately, even our parents, may not feel the same way. Not speaking of my parents, but parents in general,
Right?
that don't know how to parent. And there's many of those parents out there today that don't know how to parent, and it's not their fault. They may not have been raised the way they should be raising their children, or have learned from certain lifestyles and mistakes. But all in all, if we follow that holy book, I've created you in nations and tribes to love and respect one another.
You mentioned that the environment does that to an individual. How was your environment like? Why was your environment different than other people, to where you found yourself after all these years able to communicate and to love and to not discriminate between all these different people?
You ask yourself, did God put me in this path, even for yourself or others in this community? God put me in this path, right? I mean, you've had great people like, Emo and Haj Walker and a few other people out here, and those are people I look up to, and you ask, I look at them and say, what I see, what they do, I say, yeah, Allah put them in that path. As a child, born in the South End, but I moved out when I was like 3, from right behind the masjid on Dix. I moved out to Turnus and Tyerman, like right a block away from Tyerman. So, growing up, it wasn't abnormal to see a black kid walking in the streets and us saying, you want to play basketball, or me saying, you want to play some basketball. Like, it wasn't abnormal for me, because I seen these kids at the party store. We had 2 party stores like a block away from each other, like right on Stedman, right on Orchard. It was very cool as a kid. Like we can easily go buy a bag of chips. We don't have to walk far. But having that experience, and yeah, sometimes there was some tension. We'd play football. It was always the black kids against the Arab kids. It wasn't like, hey, let's mix teams. It was like your boys against my boys, and that was normal.
Yeah.
But if one team lost or another team lost, then, there was some tension, but we never got out of hand. One time there was a fight. One time. Other than that, never. So my friends were poor Arab. Back when I was in my neighborhood, there was poor white kids and poor black kids. And the one thing that always brought us together was sports. Because it didn't matter if you're tall, short, rich, poor, black, white, Muslim, Christian. Doesn't matter. If you're on my team, we have a common goal, and that was to win. And I preach this message. I tell people that. Now, it doesn't matter who's on your team. Just work together. And once you have the ability to work together to achieve that common goal, you're unstoppable.
It's
mentally unstoppable.
It's almost crazy how similar life is to sports.
It really is.
If you think about what you just said right there, it doesn't matter who's on your team. The goal is to win. So you can look at that as a college project, for example. That's one part of it. It doesn't matter where you're from. That's just one. You can look at it a little bigger than that in your company. Doesn't matter how everyone feels. We need to win. We need this company grow. Let's go even further. Let's say the city. It doesn't matter which group you're in. We need to elevate the city, increase our properties, values, whatever it is. And then even on a bigger scale, when you talk about like Arab communities or Muslim communities or the Muslim world, and it's like, are we really gonna sit here and fight on who prays the best rather than moving the message forward? And it's so similar to sports.
There's a lot of similarities. You're very right. There's a lot of similar characteristics we can learn from in that regard. But going deeper into like sectarian and geopolitical and I hate to say it, but like even the countries of origin in the Middle East, man, they all look the same. All these people look the same. Wallah. From every freaking country, they all look the same. I don't know what people are tripping about. I swear to God, the nicest people in all countries. But for some reason, we look at things that happened 1,400 years ago and build hate for today. It doesn't make any sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense. I try to be open-minded about the sectarian divide and, you know, the cultural divide. There really isn't much cultural divide, but, you know, the boundaries of these countries, you know, it's stupid. They weren't created by us. They're created by our enemy. Doesn't make sense to me. But I can only like react or have harsh or, you know, like strong feelings about something that I can control. I can't control that. There's nothing I can do. Maybe not. Maybe that's really putting myself at a very weaker state than I should be. But I mean, I do what I can do here by showing my brothers and sisters of other countries and other ethnicities or other sectarian beliefs or religious beliefs, even if it's non-Muslim, others. I try to treat them like the way I would want to be treated there or here. And that's all we can do, man.
Right.
One person at a time.
Right. I read something about you the other day that was like, you wanted to become a doctor because you wanted to make a lot of money. And that was like kind of the first sentence of the article that they were writing about you. And I'm like...
Isn't that everybody's dream?
Huh? A doctor, I mean...
A lot of money.
A lot of money is...
When you're a kid
yeah,
and you don't have anything. You know, my dad worked hard, but I had 8 brothers and sisters. He had 9 kids, you know. So how much can he actually give? I have 4 kids, and it's hard to give every kid what they want with 4. It's half of what he had. You know, so having to work wasn't wasn't out of the ordinary for me and for my siblings and for almost every single kid in my neighborhood. We all hustled.
Yeah.
You know.
But there's, I mean, I'm pretty sure that at a young age we all thought that doctor was the big money career path. You went slightly different direction. You're a business owner, and I want to know, when do you first give up on the dream of becoming a doctor? Was it early on? Was it like you thought when you realized like, oh, I'm not that good, I'm not like doctor smart, let's call it, or like, I just want to know where did that dream die for you?
I don't know if I've ever thought of that term, doctor smart. We've both probably met a lot of doctors that shouldn't be doctors. Let's just leave it at that. But there are very bright individuals as well. You know, I loved sports, man, as a kid. You know, I'd be the 6th grader, you know, running in the neighborhood with headphones on and carrying a CD player, you know, like the big CD player, you know, and I'm running in the neighborhood. I always wanted to be the best athlete, you know, and it paid off. You know, it paid off. But at what point did that happen? I guess when I was in high school, I took a co-op job at a hotel restaurant near the airport. And I was a high school senior. It was the last semester of my high school career. And the owner of the restaurant was my oldest brother's, like, one of his best friends. And it wasn't doing well. He wasn't happy with it. He was owner absentee. It was pretty slow. So I just threw it out there. I said, hey, can I take over your lease and buy this business off of you? And
in high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in high school. So I was part of like the DECA program. I took that very serious. I was the school store manager in high school, school store prep. Like, I took that business very serious, you know. And it was like 3 hours of my day. I was a school store at Dearborn High, you know. And my teacher then, Mr. Teets, very, very, very great guy, very nice man, you know, saw the misdirection in my life and like guided it, you know, just little pointers. So I presented that to my teacher. I said, hey, like, there's a chance for me to take over this restaurant. It took about 3 to 4 months, but he helped me throughout the whole summer and even the next school year after I had graduated.
Yeah.
And I asked him for help. Like, what would you do? How would I present this to these 2 owners of the hotel who are like big time, very wealthy Chaldean businessmen? You know, it's a little intimidating. I'm like a young kid. So he would ask me questions like, you know, could you open earlier? Can you offer room service? Can you do these? So we changed the menu. I changed the prices. I added more services. So at that point, I realized that business was my niche, you know, and I purchased a home with my brother at a very young age, 18 years old. I had purchased my second home when I was 21, and I just kept buying and working and making money and investing. At one point, I thought I was going to own 500 restaurants, but I only owned one.
Yeah.
You know, so I think at that you know, change in my vision and my career, and you know, again, seeing money that I never had as a kid, you know, because I was working really hard, you know, and I had started Hype as well. So I had this entrepreneurial spirit at a very young age. I started Hype when I was 19. I owned a restaurant when I was 18. I, you know, bought properties from 18 to 21 and all the way through, you know. Yeah.
Did anyone ever tell you that you were moving too fast?
They only say I work too hard.
Okay, but not moving too fast. Because like I imagined like an 18-year-old telling me that they just like started an organization similar to Hype and buying houses and opening restaurants and stuff. Like, all right, like your hands are in too many pots. How are you? Like, it doesn't seem like you're focused. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. When I first started Hype, that first summer of 2001 was a basketball tournament. Then in the fall, I had basketball camps. And those camps were like 2-hour commitments once or twice a week throughout the year. So it wasn't that bad. I had employees. I can leave. I still taught the game of basketball. I was still doing what I loved. I taught like so many kids in my neighborhood how to play basketball that were younger than me, you know, and soccer and baseball and all the sports, you know. I might have been moving too fast, but it wasn't as big of a commitment. The restaurant was my biggest commitment. Okay. I mean, for 3 years, I used to sleep at the hotel 19-hour days from 5 a.m. to midnight. I'll never forget that. But it taught me what sacrifice was. You know, I worked 19-hour days, literally, not every single day, obviously, but 19-hour days for 3 consecutive years.
How did that elevate the restaurant? Like, how did you switch it up?
I started to offer, I was only open for like the dinner, and then I added breakfast, I added lunch. I marketed to all the businesses and hotels around me that didn't have lunch. And it did well.
What was the increase? Like, was it significant?
Yeah, it was very significant. Yeah, okay. I mean, in dollar amount, if I were to remember, it was like $78,000 or $80,000 the first year, and then after that, it was over 200. Yeah. So back then, though, that was like 25 years ago.
Yeah. So you said you really liked sports. Did you have aspirations of like turning pro?
Soccer. Yeah.
Soccer.
Yeah. Soccer was my sport.
Okay.
Yeah. Soccer was my sport, and I had a commitment with Schoolcraft College. The coach lived in my neighborhood, Coach Van. So he passed away. But I had a commitment to play for Schoolcraft, but the restaurant opportunity came. So what I had done was I dropped out of soccer at Schoolcraft. I went to Henry Ford and was trying to be determined, like I need to get a degree and I need to own a business. I wasted a lot of time and money in college because I would be determined. I'd go register for 3 to 4 classes in a semester, and I would fail 2 of them because I couldn't even go, you know. So it took me about up until 2008, you know, to finish college. And
really?
Yeah. It took me a long time, but it was okay. I mean, I'm still learning today. I wish I can go back to college. I wish I had the time to like just go learn. I loved it, but you know, it was all destined because I had Hype, and Hype really grew in 2005. That's when the year I had to sell the restaurant, and everything I took in college from 2005 to 2008 was only based on Hype.
Okay.
organizational leadership, administration type classes, accounting classes, specifically under nonprofit, grant writing, things like that. So I applied everything I learned into real life experiences.
So is it as simple as you used to teach kids that were in your neighborhood sports to you building an organization like Hype? And for people who don't are listening to this and don't know what Hype is, what can you explain? Like what Hype is? What was the vision?
The vision in 2001 was to bring my friends from the neighborhood, the black friends, the Arab friends. Jaafar, I was transferred to Duval, right here in this neighborhood where your office is across the street, in 6th grade. And then Bryant for 7th and 8th grade, and then Dearborn High for high school. All along, I lived on Chase and Tireman. So I'm taking a bus 10, 15 minutes to school, throughout my whole career, of education. So my friends were extremely diverse. When I had graduated high school and I had this idea of Hype, it was to provide a drug-free, violent-free, and diverse athletic environment that promoted unity, acceptance, and tolerance. This is my first original mission statement that I started with at 19. I'll never forget it. Why violent-free? Why drug-free? Why diverse? So the drug-free situation was, it was necessary. Right? People were smoking weed. People were doing drugs, drinking alcohol. I didn't want none of that. It didn't work with sports, right?
Yeah.
The violent free, I used to play in tournaments in high school, and I would, after our younger kids, right, we're high school students, the adults play, and we would watch these great basketball players fight, and they would cancel the whole tournament. And then they canceled the whole tournament in Dearborn. Like, they just stopped coming to Dearborn because they didn't want to deal with the fights anymore. So when I had graduated, I said, I want to do this Gus Macker. And in order for it to work, we got to have these two things. But then I learned as to why these adults were fighting. It was an Arab versus a black, or a Mexican versus a white, or a black versus white, Arab. Like, it was... These people were like teams of black people, teams of Arab people, teams of white people, and they would fight each other. And it had some race to do with it. It wasn't just purely skill or competitiveness. It had some race to do with it, right? I wanted to combat that. In order for this to work, I need everyone to be sold on this mission. Let's look at life a little bit different. Let's play basketball. Let's have some fun. Let's try to win. Go bust your ass, work, try to win, and it worked. We had like 200 teams. I remember Haj Walker used to be one of my referees. I used to have the community come and help. Everyone came and helped.
But how do you remove the violence? Like, they're still coming and playing. How do you make sure they don't fight?
It's hard to fully prevent it.
Right.
Right. But it's a constant reminder. And it's a constant oversight of the environment and making sure that people are law-abiding, So we establish rules, no violent behavior, no aggressive fouls, no, racial slurs, no, if you fought, there's, you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
Like, we're not tolerating that. It's not what we're about, Either play, take the loss, go home. Or take the win and congratulate them, just a good game. That's it.
Yeah.
So today, what Hype has evolved into, and over the years, we kept blossoming into more and more programs, more and more services that targeted individuals. The adults became, at first they were the priority. And then I completely, within 3 months, realized that if this mission is going to work, it has to work with the kids. We have to teach them younger than when they're 21 or 27 and 30, and they're, they have all this testosterone and they want to punch their head in the wall, So it worked with the younger kids, and it was beautiful because they're harmless, right? They're innocent. They don't really know better. There was some here and there, but 99.9% it was just cool. It's just kids that want to hoop, or kids that want to play soccer or baseball. And we've listened to the calls of the community. in 2008, from 2005 to 2008, parents would come to me and say, Ali, my son is failing in math, but he loves coming to hype. Can you talk to him? Tell him, like if he doesn't do good in math, he can't come back. Or my daughter's, skipping school, or she's not social, or my son is being bullied, he doesn't have any friends. Like all these situations started coming to us. It was crazy. It wasn't just about like, I just want to teach your kid how to dribble and shoot and, win,
Right.
Now it became a lot of problems were coming, a lot of problems. And then, we grew and we're meeting principals and we're meeting teachers, and they're saying, yeah, this kid right here, you got to be careful. He might be smoking weed. We're talking 14, 15 years ago, actually 17 years ago. What am I saying? Wow, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyways, I added a variety of different services like life skills, tutoring, mentoring, counseling, substance abuse prevention, career development, health education. Parents were saying, my son is overweight, my daughter's overweight, she's not listening. So we created a program where you're not just coming to basketball now. Now you have to, it's mandatory. You have to stay and take this class, and it was a great story, and we continued to evolve. Now I took tutoring and life skills into the schools. Let's get them in the classroom. Let's take mental health and substance abuse from classroom to classroom and talk to these kids,
A lot of the conversations that I'm having with my friends during this time, and this is like, I'm recording this like 2 days before Shahr Ramadan starts. It's about how we're going to take care of our health and improve our health during this holy month, because during this time you don't eat much, and some people maybe binge on food at night. Other people like to keep it balanced and light, and there has to be a way to track this. And for me personally, tracking all these things has been so easy with Whoop. For example, one thing that I realized is when I eat right before I sleep, I wake up next day with my recovery score in the ground. And my recovery score is basically Whoop telling me how well recovered my body is the next day. And it'll give you the score every time you wake up. That has to be in the back of my head personally when I go into Ramadan and when I'm having suhoor. But what I love about Whoop even further is I can tell Whoop, it's one of the only fitness wearables that has Ramadan integrated into it, where I can tell Whoop that I am observing Ramadan, and it will cater the results depending on that. It will take that into consideration. And I feel like that's very important for anyone that wants to take their health seriously. So if you want to take your health seriously this Ramadan, you can try out Whoop for free. Because you're a listener to this podcast, Whoop is going to give you a month for free. You have to go to join.whoop.com/notfromhere. Try it for a month, track your habits, see how elevated your life is about to be after you start tracking the data that relates to your health on a daily basis. Again, that's join.whoop.com/notfromhere. Try it out for this month. If you don't like it, you can simply return it. And now, back to the episode. What is it about you, though, that you think made the parents flow to you? Was it merely that you owned the establishment? Or because I don't think it would just be, oh, Ali owns the establishment, let's go talk to him. There must have been like something in your personality that these parents were looking at and saying, oh, he could help my child.
All the kids respected me. We have a very respectful community. Ihtiram. The parents have done a good job teaching our kids respect. Even the ones that sometimes are disrespectful, they know what respect is. And they gravitate towards that strong personality and leader. That like the Juices and the Walkers and these other guys that have done that. They don't have to necessarily demand it. It just comes because they're taking their time serious and teaching you what you should know to become a better person or a better athlete. So they seen that. They seen that we're passionate. They seen that we gave time, that we treated every kid fairly, that we sincerely wanted to see every kid excel. Trust was definitely formed, and I thank the community regularly for trusting not just me but my entire organization with their children. That's their most precious item that they own in life is their
Right.
children, you know? So, you know, I reflect on that quite often, you know, that, yeah, I'm lucky, alhamdulillah, I'm lucky that these parents trust me, because it'd be a different game plan if they didn't. If anyone in my organization they didn't trust, it would hurt the organization, you know?
Right.
But the kids liked me, man. I was cool with them.
I mean, look, coaches and teaching someone how to play sports, like, it's difficult to forget that, you know? Sports are so enjoyable, and like, it's fun, but also it's very competitive. Like, you really feel a lot of joy when you win, and you feel a lot of sorrow when you lose. So like, the emotions are really extreme when it comes to sports. So when you're the coach and when you're the one that's picking them up after the loss, like, hey, it's okay, get up, head high, then they win the next time, then it's like, okay, he talked to me last time, now I'm winning. And like, even on the winning side, it would be the same. So I would see why people would be.
I wasn't always like that, though. Even I had to learn from other people, you know. Initially, I wanted to win more than the kids wanted to win. You know, like, I was that coach, you know. I was very serious in training, and get up at 6 a.m. We got practice in the summer at 6, and then we got to practice again at 4. Like, we were very serious. And I remember one year in 2008 or 2009, I want to say 2008, I had a travel basketball team with who I would say were like the best kids that come out of the city, right? And when we first started traveling and playing in these tournaments, we lost like the first 6 or 7 tournaments. We didn't even win a game. And these were the best kids in Dearborn in 8th grade. Hands down, I had the best basketball players in Dearborn and Allen Park and whatever, Detroit. Like, I had the best kids. And I would lose.
Why?
Because of me. It was because of me. We taught them the plays. We taught them the offenses, the defenses, the presses, the press breaks. We taught them everything. And they were in the best shape, and they had confidence. But I wanted to win more than they wanted to win. And I took my focus off of coaching and focused on winning. And I would lose because I would get angry. So in coaching, you know, if you demoralize the child versus, see, for every criticism, you have to have like 2 or 3 compliments so that they feel up, and then you hit them with a, look, you got to look better at your passes, or, you know, you made some mistakes dribbling up the ball. You got to protect the ball a little bit better, whatever the situation may be. But I went 0-35, and one weekend, I couldn't go. I had a wedding or something, right? And I asked one of the parents to coach the team. And on that Sunday, I called him and I said, "Hey, Hassan, how'd the kids do?" He's like, "You won't believe it." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "We won 3 out of 5 games." I'm like, "Alhamdulillah, that's awesome. What'd you do?" He's like, "I think I know what it is." So I'm like, "Okay, what is it?" He's like, "You don't have any kids." I had a 1-year-old daughter back then. He's like, "You don't have any kids, so you don't feel like that fatherly, how to talk to them like a father." I was like, "Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know what you're even talking about. I don't understand that. I'm not grasping what you're saying." He's like, "You got to talk to them like they're your sons, and that, you know, you want to build confidence in them, and you want to make sure that you're proud of them, you know, and you got to keep complimenting them." I'm like, "Okay, no problem." And wallah, we did great. We did great from that point on. I learned such a valuable lesson from Hassan, Allah yarhamu. He passed away, Hassan Abdullah. He was murdered like 2009 or 2010, if I'm not mistaken. And Allah yarhamu, very, very good man, but very, very powerful lesson. I have probably taught 100 people from that lesson how to change their behavior as coaches, just from that person.
Do you accept the advice in that moment? Do you take it well, or does it sting a little bit? Because
it stings.
Did it sting?
Yeah, hell yeah, it stung, of course.
0 for 35, and then you call, and then it's like, oh no, we actually won 3 games.
Yeah, I was happy. I was happy and jealous, I would say, at the same time, right? Because, like, damn, man, I taught these kids everything that they know about the game and the plays and the offenses. I'm the one putting the time in, and this guy just walks right in, strolls in, and gets 3 wins like that.
Yeah.
Of course, it hurt, but I was still happy for the kids. But now, as you reflect over the years, God wanted that to happen. You know,
Yeah.
God wanted me to learn that very valuable lesson. Wallah, every single day. I just taught an 18-year-old kid the same situation. I swear to God, same situation. He had to learn the same exact thing. I sat him down. I told him the exact same story.
Wow. It's good that you accepted it in the moment and you didn't brush it off and let your ego get the best of you, because you would have, like, you really could have said, like, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. You know,
No, I
he
love
probably
those
got
kids
like
too much to have an ego, man.
Yeah.
I know I was doing something wrong. I wasn't that naive,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
I knew it was something there. And I've seen it, and I think the culture of coaching back then, and even today, it's even worse today. My gosh, what I see, well, that's unbelievable. The parents are worse than the coaches. It's crazy.
Do
You
they
know,
get involved too much? That's kind of what I kind of see. They like to get involved.
They
and be in the coach's ear too much.
Yeah, gosh. I don't even know where to start with that. We're parents, I just wish they would just sit down and let their kids enjoy the game, man. Let them enjoy it. Well, when they were all kids, their parents never watched one game.
Yeah.
My dad watched 3 soccer games my whole life. You know, like, he never came to a basketball game. I played from middle school to high school. He never came to one basketball game. You know, be thankful that you even have a chance to see your kids, but let them play their game. It's their time. It's their life. You're doing your part. You're paying for it. You're there supporting it. You're leave the criticism for the coaches, you know. But it's hard now because it's not just, it's during the games that they act like this. It's during the games they're overreacting and yelling and trying to coach on the sidelines. Like, just chill, man. Just chill. They made the game so ugly. In all sports too, it's crazy.
That bad?
Yeah, it's gotten really, really bad. The culture has almost become where you need security or cops present at some of these tournaments. Wallah.
Because of the parents?
Because of the parents, they're crazy. Wallah, I'm dead serious.
Like, tell me something that happened.
I mean, God, I got 1,000 stories. Let me pick one for you. You know, I'm going to tell you a story of myself then. All right. I'm coaching. We're playing at a facility at this tournament. And we had won the first game, won the second game. And then we're progressing. Now we're playing the better teams, right, in this bracket play. And we're playing a team that was just, I mean, this was maybe 2 years ago exactly. This team was better than us. They were beating us like, gosh, man, 30 to 8 or something like that, you know? And this parent just happens to walk over. He's not a coach. I don't know what team he's a parent for. And he walks up in front of me and in front of the coaches, the players, the score table, and he says, "Who's winning?" And then the scores table points at the other team. And I'm just standing there. And this guy just looks at me and says, "Y'all Arabs suck." I was like, oh, my God. These are little girls. All the girls heard him. All my little girls heard him, you know? And I just lost my shit. I couldn't hold back. I couldn't. I wanted to break this guy's neck, you know? It's things like that. Why would you, who are you? Why would you say something like that? These are little girls. They're 4th graders. Like, what are you doing?
Wow.
Wallah, what are you doing? You know, you need to get your ass kicked for that. You know, so, I didn't knock him out or anything, don't worry. But I really wanted to. Fortunately, people were there right away. They got him kicked out of the building. But it's, we're playing another team. I'll just talk about what I've seen with my team. We're playing against a team. My parents are so laid back. They're chill. And they just watch the game. They're very relaxed. And we're playing a team, man. The parents started barking. Roof, 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 roof. I swear to God,
the parents?
The team name was Bulldogs, and the parents are barking at my kids. And I'm like, what is going on right now? What is this? What are we playing in? What are we? Who are we? Who are they? How can you imagine yourself watching your kid on the bleachers and you want to get the game so intense that you start barking like a dog? Can you imagine that? That's a true story. My kids will never forget that. They still talk about it because I kept the team together. So we're now 7th graders. It's abnormal. Like the behavior we're seeing is just not normal these days. You
And
know,
it's from parents
But-
is the crazy part.
yeah, but look at, you know, you go to the high school. I know there was an incident between Dearborn High and Fortson. Hey, these are all cousins. What are they fighting each other for? They all know each other. Everybody knows each other in the
Right.
city. What are you guys fighting for? You know, and you know it goes even further than that, man. It's the like I said, the culture and climate and youth sports, you know, and they just pull all different kinds of cards. But you know, you got to just go with the flow and teach your families and teach your kids what you can teach
Right.
them, and just go on.
Yeah, you gotta talk to them as much as you can. But there's this one aspect of hype that you talked about, and that was the drug free.
Mm.
You know, and this is a very sensitive topic, and but I don't want to call it taboo, although it is. But I mean that I feel like that cycle has to break. How bad is it? How bad is the drug problem actually?
In the last 20 years, it has become extremely bad. Very bad. And it stemmed maybe with a little bit of oversight and ignorance, you know, in the Vicodin days and the, you know, pain med days, with doctors not knowing the long-term side effects and the chemical dependencies to like the opioids, right, and the opioid receptors. Fine, put that aside. You know, they changed the name of the drug, and there's now different names of drugs. You know, they have the same thing, but and they got sued. There's an opioid relief settlement that took place nationwide. Every state got a lot of money, and the doctors kind of learned their lesson. But it's like they're recycling into the same ignorance. You know, they get you off of an opioid that has, for example, a 5 to 10 day chemical dependency on, not emotional, not mental dependency, but chemical dependency, where your body is addicted to the drug. It takes about 5 to 7 to max 10 days to get like opioids out of your system, heroin, Vicodin, all those opioid related drugs. So they say, well, let's get you off of that, and we're going to give you something called Suboxone, which is initially was a harm reduction drug. You know, it targets your pain, your opioid receptors, but it allows you to function.
Okay.
Right. So all along, they've had this drug. They don't need to create a drug that you have such a high chemical dependency for, or, you know, it rewires your brain like Adderall or Xanax, because they have the non-narcotic forms of all of these drugs. So now our doctors, not all of them, but a lot of the doctors swear by Suboxone, and their argument is valid. I'd rather them alive, addicted to Suboxone, where they can talk to you and they can go to work and they can drive, than on opioids or on the streets taking heroin or fentanyl or crack or cocaine or any other drug that they're taking that's illicit. And let's just give them this drug, this Suboxone. At least they're alive. At least their parents they don't have to bury their kids.
These are harsh words that you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
at least
This is reality, brother. It's the reality. If anyone wants to challenge it, I'd be happy to challenge it. I'm on the streets. I see it. I see it all the time. See it all the time. I'm seeing 18-year-olds going to primary care physicians and getting their first prescription for Adderall and Xanax because they just tell the doctor they're depressed or whatever the symptoms are that meet the criteria for a primary care, not a mental health or a psychiatrist, not that type of professional, primary care, internal medicine doctor prescribing. And every family is becoming victimized of this behavior of these doctors, you know, and then, you know, after some time they'll say, well, I can't continue to give you Adderall. You got to go see a psychiatrist because it's just the right thing to do. Well, you already got them addicted. It's been a month. That's all it takes. They can't operate without it. If they take it every day for 1 month, you're going to withdraw from Adderall for 10 to 14 days, you know? So then they go see a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist that's game. It's for them. Here's your script. I'll see you next month if you want another script. Here you go, next month.
that easy.
That easy. They just do a psych eval. You're already on Adderall, so you're already mentally not stable, so that you have all the signs and symptoms because you're already on it, It's very easy. And it's a nationwide problem, man. It really is. And for me, parents were coming to us again with the weed and the tobacco and the alcohol. And, I just focused on prevention and diversion. Diversion is you have a youngster who's experimenting with drugs. And then he has signs or behaviors like low academic performance or other risk factors like truancy, and they're skipping school a lot, or they're isolated, no friends, just depressive behaviors. That's diversion. We got into intervention when these young shabab and young girls just started dropping all over our city. People that we know, families that we know.
Heart attacks.
Whatever you want to call it, man. Yeah, heart attacks. Yeah, but we know what it is, and it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. And rather than, not all, but rather than the family saying, yeah, my son was a victim, because they really are victims. I don't look at them as making bad choices. I think
they got caught.
They're misled, All of us have addictive behaviors of some sort. You might like coffee.
We were talking about coffee.
You like coffee. You may not feel like you're addicted to caffeine, but if you don't have it during Ramadan, you said you're going to get headaches.
Yeah.
That is an addiction.
Right.
Some people bite their fingers. It's an addiction. OCD type behaviors, These are all like still considered one of the 41 major mental health topics, So, the intervention became something at first when I was able to gather and attract about 50 people from our community who were enough is enough, Great people in our community like, Rabia Darwish and David Mackey and Hassan Abdullah and Ghada Abdullah and Hassan Berry. There's so many good people, man. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't remember. But we met and we convened and we said, let's try to do something about it. So we created SAFE, which was a Hype is the parent company, and then SAFE is just our not. We use the acronym SAFE, just so you know. We use it for service, athletics, fitness, education, solving addiction through family and education. I like the word safe. Yeah, it's safe, So we SAFE was like an acronym we selected. And we used to just volunteer, man. Parents got wind of us, and we would go do interventions at people's homes, thousands of homes in Dearborn Heights.
Is it that common, actually?
Yeah. It's worse today because of, and I can't pinpoint it, but there's a lot of mental health issues and behavioral health issues in our community. I can't pinpoint it. I can't tell you it's from the COVID vaccines or it's from
generational trauma,
PTSD. It could be hereditary. It could be genetic formations. I don't know. They say, there was a study that was conducted that, where your grandfather served in World War II, and after World War II had these depressive behaviors and trauma and all, whatever the behavioral health or mental health issues that he had. And then your father witnessed that and grew up in that. And then he may have skipped it, but you might have it from him. Correct. I don't know. It's called the ACE study or something like that, and it just is, it's a tough thing to pinpoint, but it's what's evident is, if you target food, if you target, the consumption of these unhealthy foods that are poisoned and laced and with pesticides and other chemicals, if you target our everyday water from the fountain that we shower in and drink and brush our teeth with, that's, has been compromised with chlorine and fluoride and other chemicals that they say clean it, but are not good for consumption, Could be the vaccines. It could be environments that we're brought up in. But today we're seeing severe behavioral health issues, like a high level of autism. Like 1 in 36 students have some sort of behavioral health issue in a classroom now in Dearborn. And that's a byproduct of, you know, the parents or whatever they did, right? It came to the children, I guess, or the vaccines. I don't know. I can't, I'm not like a conspiracy theorist of any sort, but
You're asking questions, basically.
yeah,
That's it.
you know, like I'm trying to figure it out, man. But like after they legalized marijuana, and then the potency of this THC is like over 30%. I remember as a kid, 18, 17, 16, I remember like hearing this THC and now learning about it more. It was like 3%. So it's 10 times stronger today than it was when I was a kid. And these kids are smoking some strong weed and pens and gummies and all this stuff, you know? So whatever anyone wants to say, the seed is genetically modified. The dirt is fertilized with chemicals. The THC has become super strong. There's one outcome, and that's psychosis. And if you can be sane while smoking that strong of a weed, then you're insane. You know, like I can't pinpoint it. You know, like again, I go back to these and I'm trying to figure it out, but there's so many wheels spinning at the same time that, you know, I have to just fight the battles I can fight.
It's almost hard to prevent at that point.
How do you,
know?
how?
You can't prevent it.
We're fighting, we're shooting uphill, we're trying to, you know, fight this enemy, and the hill just keeps growing taller and taller and taller and taller. Weed is legal. Tobacco is like, now they're telling you, hey, we're going to give you cancer. It has 2,000 chemicals in it, but you can buy it for $10, you know, like, and you're going to be addicted, guaranteed. Like, and it's legal. Like, it's unbelievable. Wallah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
What
the
money
things
could do.
Yeah. And I can tell you that if the conspiracy theorist in me was able to freely speak out and we dive into who owns these companies, you know, who owns these pesticide companies? Who's the largest banana grower in the world? What is his religious origin? What are his set of beliefs? Can they do that if they fear God? If they truly fear God, could they do that to other people? I don't know. You know, they're poisoning animals and then telling us to eat it. They're poisoning our food and saying it's good for us. Like, how can they do that if they fear God? You know, so it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know how to answer that. That's my mind just speaking freely about all the problems of this world.
And there's a lot what you said there to dissect, but let's talk about marijuana a little bit. It's kind of cool, or at least when I moved to America 6 years ago, people used to talk about, well, this guy smokes weed, like those are the cool kids. And I had this conversation last year on the podcast with Batul Makkeh. She's a therapist that also focuses on these issues. And I asked her about marijuana, if it's a gateway drug, what she thought. And she assesses brains during like her interventions and stuff like that. And she was like, every single brain she assessed started with marijuana, like people who had substance use issues. And it's crazy that because like you said, like you're speaking these things and they seem like 1 + 1 = 2, like, oh, marijuana is getting all these kids addicted and now they're in this rabbit hole, right, of substances and stuff. Why don't we just cut off marijuana? But apparently now it's legal and now you have to try to fight that. And I just want to know what you've been seeing hands-on, like, you know, well, like what's your first-hand experience like?
She's not wrong by any means. I just think if you ask that question again today, you have a different answer. You know, there's a lot of facets to this wheel and how it looks. You know, marijuana is certainly a gateway drug. Alcohol is certainly a gateway drug. Tobacco is certainly a highly addictive substance. You know, all the illicit street drugs. When I use that term illicit, it's the illegal street drugs, right? The mollies and the fentanyls and the meth, crystal meth, all that stuff, you know, heroin, crack, cocaine. Those are all illicit, intended to be highly addictive, designed with that highly addictive thing. An innocent boy or girl could be drunk at a bar, at a club, meets a guy. They're not in their right state of mind. And the guy says, hey, you want to keep partying? Take this pill. Was that person influenced by marijuana? No, not necessarily. They just made a bad choice. A lot of people started that way. Environments that they were placed in. It's not the drug. It's the environment. And I stress that a lot. You know, if the household is stressful, I'll tell you a story. It's a perfect story. Okay, hopefully it relates to and correlates with this message. I got a call 6-7 years ago. Is this Ali Sayed? It was a Sunday. I was on the way to the Lions game with a couple of my friends. True story. They know it because they're sat in the car. Is this Ali Sayed? I said, yes. Dakhilak Ali, my son is trying to kill himself. Please come. I'm like, call 911. No, I need to see you. You have to come here. He's trying to kill himself. I'm like, okay, Haji, where do you live? Where are you at? Blah, blah, blah. The street. I go to the house. I'm like, hey, boys, I'm sorry. We're a little early. We're going to go barbecue and do all the pregame stuff. It's like, just give me 15, 20 minutes. I can't. You know, the guy, like, how do you take a call like that and say I can't come? You know, I'm busy for the Lions, you know? So I go to the house and I walk into the house and the first thing I see on the table is a tray filled with the orange bottles of medicine, right? And red flag for me from what I was taught, right? And I said, is everything okay? Where's your son at? Who's your son? What's his name? Where's he at? I don't know anything about this family. And here comes this kid from the stairway. I was like, you're the one that wants to kill himself? What's wrong with you, man? You're really trying to kill yourself? He's like, no, but living with her and him, I want to kill myself. I'm like, okay, I get it. So they're just very strict parents, you know, and, you know, you're just fed up. Let's go for a walk. Let's go walk around the block. Let me just hear your story, see what the hell's up, you know? So we go for a walk, and he's like, tells me his story. It's not a good story. I'm not going to repeat it publicly, but I go back to the house and I say, Haji, who's this medicine for? She goes, هي لجوزي. I go, شو إيش جوزك؟ عم يدفع المورجج للدكتور لحاله هو الفارماسيست لحاله. لا شو بده هالقد medicine?
Yeah.
What does he need that much medicine for? So out comes this old man. He's not too old, maybe 50s. And you know that song, my neck, my back, my whatever. Literally, he is naming every bone and joint in his body, telling me my kidneys, my elbows, my knees, my head, my back, my spine, my L1, L2. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this guy, man? You've been juked by all these doctors. You're a perfect patient for all of them. So I was like, listen, if you live in an environment where your kids see you crack a bottle open, take medicine every morning, even a vitamin, they build that behavior. They see it as okay, and they take vitamins or medicine. You've normalized it now. Whether you like it or not, you've normalized it. So I got to know the kid, and there was other siblings in the house, all like self-diagnosed and self-prescribed medication.
Everyone?
Almost everyone except for one little girl. Nonetheless, beautiful family, wallah. Like all the brothers, Allah yahdihun, they're very, very good kids, you know, very young men now. But we got that boy clean. But I asked the mother while I was there, I said, Haji, do you take anything? And she says, yeah. I said, what do you take? She goes, أنا باخد Xanax. I go, ليش الدكتور عطاكي Xanax? Like, I want to know, why did he give you Xanax? He said, لأنه ولادي زعرانين بيفزوا من الجراج وبيعطوني وجعة راس.
They're just hyper kids.
They're just hyper kids. They're just kids. They're boys. Man, I was 10 times worse. All my brothers were 10 times worse, you know? My mom should have been on a harsher drug, you know, based on just how we were, because we grew up on the streets. You know, like when I say grew up on the streets, the sun comes up, me and all the neighborhood, we meet at the park, we play sports. Maybe we come home at 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 when the sun goes down. That was our day. That was our life. Leave when the sun is out, come back when the sun is down. That was our life. So when we say grew up on the streets, it was like that, you know, like we would have been referred to as Azhar today.
Right.
You know? But I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, man, like it's not that serious. I'm like, so who's the doctor? The same doctor. One doctor gave the whole freaking family all the drugs in the house. Unbelievable. I said, how long? She said, 10 years. I said, when I try to quit, I feel like I'm choking. it's a benzo. It's an easy sign, like panic attacks, can't breathe, things like that. So, you know, the environment caused the entire house to collapse.
But Saad, is it that easy for the doctor to just prescribe medicine
Yeah, of
left
course.
and right?
They're not questioned. They can be questioned. They went to school for a long time. They got the licenses. Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of regulation today. There's a little bit of oversight. You know, there's a little bit of public information for the Medicare patients. You know, if you have Medicare, Medicaid, you know, there's public sites where I can search a doctor's name and see how many opioids, benzos, amphetamines, like they prescribe. I can see that because it's public. We as taxpayers have a right to know where our taxpayer dollars are going when they're being used for insurance-related reasons. You know, it's like a public site. Projects ProPublica is the website, just so if any of the listeners want to hear about it. But you see, and it's a shame, the doctors you see from our community, top doctors in our community, in the state, that prescribed serious drugs. Serious drugs.
There's this notion that, like, we're talking about this right now, and a mom could be listening and she's like, yeah, but not my son. What do you think about that?
I think every single family has suffered. Every single family has someone that they know within their family. It may not be immediate, but niece, nephew, extended, that is suffering from a mental health or behavioral health or a substance abuse related issue.
Like, we have this picture of them in our head, and they're you just mentioned Azhar. They're like the Zahran, like the rebels, you know, those are the ones who use, you know?
No, wallah, no. Not all. Some of them were so innocent, man. So innocent, man. Wallah. There was a kid that got a full ride scholarship to a college, and he had, you know, the first year they make you dorm, you know, and you don't know who you're dorming with. You just random person, you know. You're in this room, and you hear meet John, you know, and you're Muhammad. And you know the cycle in college is Adderall. Everyone like just cycles through this experience.
Like Tic Tacs.
Yeah, because, you know, there's so much pressure on college, you know. And haram, you know what's sad is we realize now post-college, what a scam college is, man. What a scam. Big time, man. It's unfortunate that these public, you know, establishments that are intended to educate and guide people have manipulated it to be a money scheme, you know, money generating business. They didn't need to do that. You know, focus on the foundation of education and the love for teaching, and I think it would have went further. But this kid is on Adderall, you know, and you know, he's doing well, and they ran out. So the roommate says, I can call somebody. Let me see. I got a friend or a cousin. I don't know what the heck it was, and they come back with another hard product, and they smash it up. And he says, but if you snort it, this is Adderall as well, just so you know. They chop it up into a fine powder. If they snort it, it hits the brain different, hits the blood different. He didn't know this kid, but that was crystal meth. Yeah. See, like, these are innocent situations, right? You become a follower or a victim of the environment that you're in, and then you don't know, because you built trust with people, you don't know what you're taking, you know? Or even dealers, you know, like, you know, they'll push a product on people because they know that they're going to come back. There's a heroin addict I know, Manana, who I put in rehab, got cleaned up, beautiful family, great guy. And Halafle, he goes, Ali, they come to my house because he relapsed. They come to my house and they just give it to me for free. They don't want money. They just say, here, just take it. Because they know as soon as he takes it, he's calling them the next day, hey, I need more, you know? So this victim, and I don't want to get in too much detail, this victim took crystal meth, and for the male, there's a lot of homosexual tendencies for crystal meth users. I don't know what it is.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Like, they get tendencies after they take crystal meth?
Yeah, while they're on it, like, I don't know, they perform like a lot of like homosexual behaviors. This is what I learned. I don't know, right? Never seen it, thank God. But nonetheless, this young boy contracted an STD, bad one. I'm not going to say what it is, just in case anyone listens, but, the unfortunate reality is his parents were such nice people, such nice people. And I highly recommended that he inform his parents of this, and, so he can get treatment, he can live the rest of his life, and at least, next to him are his mom and dad that love him and raised him, and they can live with that mistake. It's a mistake. It's not, something that they can hate you for, nor should they hate you for. It's a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. And we just got to learn from these lessons in life, and we have to encourage these college students to challenge their brain without having to depend on any type of substance, even caffeine. High school students are drinking caffeine more than ever in my life. I've never seen
Celsius and Red Bull
and everything caffeine, man, coffee and energy. It's crazy, man. We're creating, what's going to happen to their kids or their grandkids from all this crap that they're consuming? So I go back to environment, to go back to what you were stating. I think there's a lot of things that trigger addiction. And I think and I believe strongly, if we can control as much of their time as possible. That's why I love after school programming. You have 8 hours of school, right? Then they come home. Well, mom and dad sometimes are still at work, or mom is home and dad's at work. Like, there's very little parenting up until dinner time, So my recommendation is keep these kids as busy as you can. It's the best investment you'll make. Put them in everything that they want to do after school. Come home at 8 o'clock. Let them eat late. Go to sleep. Exhaust them with time and energy. Exhaust them. Make sure their homework is done if they have any. And just keep, I hope every parent that's listening follows this. I don't care where they're at. Swimming, Aqua Tots, other organizations. I don't care. Put them in anything that they want to do after school and keep their weekends busy. Keep them in positive environments. Let them constantly challenge themselves to learn and to grow and to develop, and most importantly, build confidence. That all correlates. That all comes together. So, and I'm seeing that more than ever today, because our generation, well, you're a little younger than me, but my generation of fathers and mothers who were once athletes or loved sports value that. So now at Hype, I see parents, they come and bring their kids to watch another kid's basketball. Their kid isn't even playing, and they're there. They're watching another kid's basketball game because they love to see it. They just want to stay in that environment. How can we go wrong with that? How can they go wrong with that?
Walker told me something when he was on, and we were talking about this drug issue that he used to face with the team. And he said something like he would know that person is smoking outside of practice, and the easy thing to do was to kick him out of practice. But what he said, what he used to do was he would keep him in, because for those couple hours that he is in the team, like after school and in practice, he knows that during this time he's not going to be using. And he's going to be playing, and he has supervision over him.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to what you're saying as well, that no, let them stay busy so they don't have time to explore other stuff.
That's exactly it. That's the strategy. That's the goal. That's exactly what you just said. Keep them busy. Eventually they'll wake up.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll want something better than what they're doing.
The heart attack thing, Ali, I want to say this was like maybe 2 years ago, and there was one of these posts that this person passed away from a heart attack, and we were sitting in this gathering, and one of my mom's friends was what brought the gentleman up, and I'm like, haram heart attack, and she was like young people don't die of heart attacks like that, that's just not true. There's no way that there's this many young people that die from heart attacks. It doesn't happen. And before I even like tried to challenge it, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they said it's a heart attack. And couple weeks go by, and then I met someone that was related to the gentleman. He was like, no, it was overdose. Are you with the naming it heart attack, or do you think when you say overdose, you hit a very sensitive heartstring, and then when you hit that heartstring, you make people more aware that this is happening?
Until you yourself are experiencing that about your own child, it's hard for us to say whether stigmatizing it, hiding it, or being public about it is good or bad. And I'll tell you why. Say it's a heart attack. We know what it is. If it makes you feel better, go ahead, just say it's a heart attack. But we know what it is when he's 28 or 30 years old. It's fine. At the same time, we believe that he creates and takes life, right? I can jump off of a 10-story building. It's still up to him to take my life, right or wrong. Right. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay. I can take 1,000 pounds of whatever drug. It's still up to him at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Unless I take a gun and shoot myself in the head, which even then, right? Or I intend to hurt myself or kill myself, which none of them are. None of them are. So with that being said, I try not to judge how a family grieves and how they want to uphold the reputation of their own family, right? I try not to judge. I understand. I wish and I applaud the father that stood up and said, Jami'an, my son was a victim. He was a great kid, great football player, great basketball player, loving son, loving brother, loving sister, whatever, right? But he made the wrong choice. And we live in a society where you can make that wrong choice one time and you're stuck for life. You really are. You really are. And I'm going to tell you, if you smoke crack one time, you're going to want it the whole day. And after that day, it's the whole week. And then you'll see yourself on the streets begging someone for $1 or $2. And you'll do some things that are very bad to yourself to get money just so you can smoke more crack. And I've seen it. Our people. I've seen the drugs and the selling of their bodies and, the horrific before and after pictures, of these people, from a beautiful person to a what the hell zombie, right? And I've seen it, man. I've seen it. We've had to bury a lot of people. Some people who I've grown to love and care for. Some people who I've seen their families struggle and get to the point of exhaustion, and you try to okay, let's just be patient. God is the greatest. God is all knowing. I don't care how the parents grieve. It's not going to bring the kid back. It's not. What he says or what they don't say or say, it's not going to bring the kid back. We do know we have a problem in this community.
Do we?
We do. Absolutely, we do. Absolutely. And it's all sorts, man. We have our problems. You want to talk, we started off with sectarian. Stupid, but we have a problem. We want to talk about the ethnic or cultural differences between the Lebanese and the Yemeni and the Syrian and the Iraqi and the Palestinian and the Jordanian and we're all brothers and sisters. We all look the same. We all speak the same language. We all read the same Quran. And if they're Christian, they respect us and we respect them. We're all the same. Talk about that. Then you talk about additional differences that we're all a part of and we all see. It's just, look, we can talk about this for hours and hours and hours. It's our community has the ability to solve its problems with unity and love for one another. Put all that other shit aside. Put it all aside. Put religion aside just for a second. Because Allah, this is religious. Allah would want this to happen, you know? Put all that stuff aside. Let's just love each other, man. Respect each other and help each other. The Prophet would want that. The Prophet that everyone says, you know, it's the perfect creation that we all love and we all fight for and die for, right? Till this day. Just stop at the Prophet. We don't have to continue on to all the different whoever's, you know? Just stop there in the Quran. Just, we agree on those. Let's just focus on that. Let's help each other, man. Because wallah, there's Yemenis dying, there's Palestinians dying, there's Lebanese dying, there's Iraqi dying, there's Syrians dying. They're all dying. Egyptians are dying. They're all addicted.
Yeah.
And every community is suffering.
You're in such a weird position. You get to see this stuff firsthand. You get to see a kid that walks in one day and then doesn't show up the next day because they're gone.
I never questioned my path, bro. Like, you know, I went from, you know, having 200 kids in a basketball camp in Livonia or Dearborn or Allen Park or wherever, you know, to now I'm like having conversations about drugs and about overdoses and about, you know, foster care children or juvenile detention facilities and, you know, all the cases of special needs that need help, you know, and you look at these situations and it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes I question, like, I don't know. Should I just go back to just coaching and just work on kids that are good, you know, or do I take this stressful role and try to help people that sometimes don't even want your help, or sometimes they put the blame on you, you know?
Has that happened? Oh
my God, it's happened. It's been happening. This guy still talks about me like as if I did something, you know? Yeah, it's happened. Of course. We blood, sweat, and tears, our own money out of our pockets, our own time away from our children and our wives and our families. And, you know, you have no idea. You have no idea. I wish I can tell you the story, but I can't online. I'm not going to do that to the families. I'm not. I'm better than that.
How does that make you feel, though, when someone comes and tells you?
It hurts. It hurts so much, especially when they know that you loved their child. You loved that kid. I loved him. He was like a brother. I raised him, like with the family. He was with me the whole time since he was a kid. Then he makes a bad choice, and he goes into the streets. And then you get him into housing, and you get him into rehab, and you get him into care, and you get him a job, and you get a car, and he gets clean. And now he's talking to you about going to the Hajj. And then he meets a girlfriend. And the girlfriend he met at an NA meeting. And she convinces him to use again because she wants to use and she wants to have fun with her boyfriend. And then he's right back to where he started, you know? So yeah, man, we've had that problem, man. And Allah yarhamun, man, you know, like I've buried people whose parents were like, no, my daughter can't go to rehab. No, she's got a rehab at home. We're Muslims. Our daughter isn't going there. I'm like, this is don't think of it as a rehab. Think of it as a hospital. She's got to go to the hospital. And you're not allowed to go with her. You know, she's got to go. She's addicted to heroin. And then 2 weeks later, she's dead. You know, like, how do you combat that? 21-year-old engineering student. Like, how do you combat a family that doesn't want it? You know, and then they come back to you and say, I wish you would have convinced me harder. Like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? You know, what can I do? But parents to this day resent us, not just me, but some of my closest teammates that helped me with this program. They resent us, man. They resent us hard. They put the blame on us that we failed in trying to help.
Ali said something about Palestine drinks during this conversation. He was saying that he had only seen this can online and he hadn't tasted it, and he tasted it. And I'm not sure if that is going to show before this ad or after, but spoiler alert, he really, really liked it. And Palestine Cola now sells in the United States, so you have to go out and get you a can, try it out for yourself. 100% of the proceeds of this company go straight to Palestine. Trust me, this is not a drink that compromises on taste at all. But with that, you get all the benefits of feeling good about your spending when you spend it on a product like this. And now, back to the episode. How's the general consensus at the funerals that you go to when someone overdoses and they're gone with the family? Like, are the family still adamant that what they did was correct?
No, there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of guilt, and you can see it in their faces, you know, that they wish they could have done more. Yeah, I see that a lot. And, you know, at times they come to you and they thank you for trying, you know. Man, I wish I can tell you some stories, but I just, you know, forgive me, man. I can't, I don't want to talk about the families. I don't want to talk about the deceased. I don't want to talk about their emotions. I just think it's best to just, you know, forgive them and move on, you know. But they're lessons for people. And, you know, you have to always remind yourself.
You don't have to say specific stories. You don't have to name the names. Like you can say what happened, you know, like your interaction, like what was the idea.
I mean, I had a young kid. He was a hype kid for 2 years when he was a teenager. And the father brings him to me and says, my son's addicted to heroin. And I'm looking at the father like, I think you're addicted to heroin and other stuff. You know, like I've seen it on all your posts and stuff. You're like crazy. Nonetheless, I take the kid and I personally drive him to rehab and talk to him and talked about his future and how he can survive this and he can start you're still a kid. You're 18 years old. You know, you still have a life in front of you. Barak walad. Not even, you know, not even zalimi yet. 3 days later, he gets out of rehab. I get a call back from the father. Okay, bring him back to hype. Let me talk to him again. I take it personal when it's kids that, you know, that I've known, right? So I get him back to another rehab facility in July. And 3-4 days later, he's back out, takes his heroin again, does all his stuff. And then the very last time, I got him into a rehab center that I vetted. You know, I was able to talk to the director. It wasn't too close to Dearborn, so he couldn't come right back. You know, it was like a 45-minute drive. And I personally take him there. Now here's the kicker. I left for Hajj the very next day. So that day before, who do you spend time with when you're going to Hajj?
Your family.
Your family. Your kids, your mom, your dad, everyone's coming to visit you, right? To wish you farewell and make their
ask
wish.
for forgiveness and
all that stuff. Yeah. I left that, and I went and took this kid to a rehab center. And
you left that part?
I left the day before I went to Hajj to take him to rehab. Yeah. So I take him to rehab. I notify the father, listen, if you have to sleep in the parking lot, don't let your son get out. I'm not going to be here for 21 days. I can't save him. I can't. I'm done. I'm going. This is for me. He's yours. Make sure he doesn't leave rehab. And I prepped this kid, and he was motivated. 7 or 8 days later, he left the rehab because the chemical dependency wears off, right, from heroin. So he leaves. Who does he call? He needs a ride. He's not going to call his dad. So he calls one of his friends, his loyal friends that are also users, you know. And sure enough, right when he got out, he shot up, and they found him dead the next day. I'm already in Mecca. So I get a call from the father. He goes, hey. I was like, what's up? How you doing? How's your son? And he says he died. I was like, oh my God, Ya Allah. So I gave my condolences. I said, how? What happened? He called his friend. You know, just so you know, and the listeners know, rehab centers are voluntary. You can't make it mandatory to take your child to rehab center. It doesn't work like that. There's no rehab for weed. You know, it's only the drugs, the prescribed drugs and the illicit street drugs. That's it. And you can't. You can be a crackhead. You go to rehab for a day, you can leave the same day. I don't want to be here, I'm out. And they leave. They can't stop you legally. So he tells me while I'm there, can you notify my parents? I'm like, bro, I don't know who your parents are. I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. Long story short, I gave in. I'm like, why don't you call your parents? I don't talk to my parents. I'm like, okay, no problem. Okay. I find the hamle, I find the group, I do all the struggles, and I notify them. And the parents were in such disgust, saddened, crying, but in such disgust with the boy's upbringing, you know. Long story short, you know, the 40th comes around, I go pay my respects, and, you know, I was sincere about it. You know, never brought the kid's name up, never brought the father's name up, never talked about the situation again, because I believe that if Allah wants you, He takes you. no matter what, right? The guy did heroin for 3 years. That's the time, you know? Well, this gentleman has relentlessly, for the last 4 or 5 years, attacked me on social media, attacked me and my family, and has relentlessly attacked a lot of people. And I pray for this guy. I really do. I'd like to do more, but instead I just pray, you know. But yeah, that's one story, man. I mean, I say relentless, bro. Like the guy still talks about me, like I did something to him. I don't know what I did to him, but whatever. God's the witness, you know. There's another guy at a funeral. I walk in and I just go pay my respects. And he's like, "You killed him." I'm like, "What? How are you gonna say that to me? I'm at the funeral. He's laying dead right here. It's your fault." Loud.
At the funeral?
In front of everybody. "You killed him. It's your fault." I'm like, "Oh my God, are you seriously saying this?" My mom is there. She's like, "Lesh, I'm بيحكي هيك عنك." I'm like, man, I look at this guy that I've known for 20 years. Like, how are you talking to me like that, bro? You know what I've done for your nephew. What are you saying? How are you saying this? Now, you know, I got a little street in me too. Let's go outside, bro. We can settle this our way. You want to talk about me like that? Let's go. I'll fight you. I'll fight anybody. You know, but like, how are you saying this to me? Like, I'm shocked.
There's no way that doesn't break your heart.
Man, it destroyed me. What do you mean? It destroyed me. They have no idea what I did for that kid that died. They have no idea. His parents didn't even have a house for him. He lived in hype. For 6 months, he lived in hype. My own employees didn't know he lived in hype. How about that? He used to work. I used to tell everyone he's going to stay after and clean. He's the nighttime cleaner. I want this place spotless. And he'd go sleep in an office upstairs. For 6 months. His parents, no one knew. No one knew that was the case, except for his brother. Food, clothes, money, housing, all of that was on me. How are you going to say that to me? You know? How? He was homeless.
Your body almost doesn't know how to react.
Yeah, but like, you know, look, to reflect on that, bro, like, you know, like I've accepted that I can't control other people's emotions or behaviors, you know, and I'm happy with how Allah has given me patience, because it's a testament that what I did was right, and I believe it. Otherwise, if I did something wrong, how would I react? I'd go fight him, right? Or I'd want to go fight the other guy that's talking about me, you know, and so many times I've wanted to, you know, but I never did nothing wrong to him. So what's the point of getting angry? You know, imagine someone just says, "I want to fight you," for no reason. Like,
well,
why?
I don't want to fight.
I don't want to fight. You go fight yourself. That's different if they actually physically try to assault you. That's a different situation, you know, but it's just hake. It's just talk, you know. And, you know, we live in a society today, and I'm just going to reflect on our little bubble, right? You know, and I wish I can get this to everybody. We were taught when we were kids by the white teachers, if you ain't got nothing nice to say,
Don't say it.
Don't say nothing at all. You know, why if I say, "Hey, I went to visit this restaurant," I have no association with the restaurant, but I felt bad. It's a great restaurant. My family enjoyed it. My kids loved it, you know. And I just put in a couple of chats because I felt bad. You know, this place should be busier than it was. "Hey guys, I tried this restaurant out. You know, I recommend it. It's nice. The food was good. You may claim a disappointment about the pricing, but you don't have no issue going to Joe Muir or London Chop House or all these other fancy restaurants and you get a $300 bill. Go give it to ours. Give it to our community. It's fine." And some people had to like react negatively, like it's nature. I gotta talk shit. Why do you gotta talk shit for? Why? All of us, everybody, just stop talking negative about each other, man. I ask about you, and people don't look for the good things about you. They gotta tell you about the bad things first. They tell me about Jaafar. Tell me about Ali Sayyid. Wallah, they'll tell you negative before they tell you positive. Why? Why did we become a culture like that? the benefit we have is we can learn quicker than others because we have our deen. And it's haram, right? It's haram to
Right.
talk like that.
Of course.
So, I hope, man, like, the sheikhs and the sayyid talk about each other, and the imams, all these guys, they talk about each other. The board members talk. We're talking about at the mosques, like they got problems even there in the house of God, But I hope, and we can start with ourselves, right? I can start with my kids. Don't talk about people. Let people talk about you. It's better. It's better for them to talk about you negatively than for you to talk about people negatively. Because they're just envious and jealous. They want what you have. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. You go through this, and then you have to go home to your family, right? And let's just imagine you're walking into your house, and then there's so many voices in your head from all the people that are talking bad about you, whether it's the funeral, whether the mother that was about to rip her hair out of her head when she saw her son getting buried, whether you went to Safe and you saw all these kids that are addicted to heroin. Now you go into the house. How do you not bring that inside?
I have brought it inside. I have many times.
It's almost difficult not to, no?
Yeah. It's the extra 10-minute shower. It's the extra isolation on the couch. You're just kind of looking through, seeing what's being said. Sometimes it's just the extra time on the prayer rug, just head to the ground, just talking to God, And there's been a lot of periods of neglect with my kids. I try my hardest to make it up. And I try to give them as much love and attention and time as I possibly can. I wasn't raised with the love languages, but I learned them growing up. And I as much as I can, I try to talk to my kids about confidence and about love and about respect and like self-esteem and things like that, And I think I see a lot of parents doing that now too.
Yeah.
A lot of parents we're wiser. How do we connect that with our deen, though, right? We got to connect that with our deen. And this is the thing that's missing. The American culture is its own culture, and it contradicts Islam, and it contradicts Christianity, and it contradicts Judaism, and it contradicts all the monotheistic faiths, even the non-monotheistic faiths. It contradicts Hinduism and Buddhism and whatever other isms there are out there. But the beautiful thing about Islam as a complete faith is, it's a guide. And if we just get closer, right, all of us, all of our community, man, if we just become a closer, tight-knit, faithful community, I think we can overcome a lot of challenges.
Do you think it's as simple as that? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot that comes with that.
Yeah, I do.
To become this tight-knit community that is actually standing like
I do.
hand in hand. It takes a lot to get there. But do you think it's as simple?
I mean, if you realize who is causing the divide, who is it?
It's the enemy.
Who's the enemy? It's the creation that God created. Who did he create? The enemy, Shaitan.
Yeah.
Right? Shaitan created this divide. In all of our hadith, we've learned it. So when the Shaitan deceives, people start building these negative characteristics: arrogance, hate, pride,
Narcissism.
the things that Allah doesn't love. So when people can say, for example, and we don't know, bro, and we're reading books, the same books that the other sects are reading. When people can say, Ali was not the rightful successor, and his grandchildren, or his children and grandchildren, were not of any significance to Prophet Muhammad or to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And this holy household is misunderstood. It's a misunderstanding, and that sect is wrong. Let's go to the other side. The Sahaba are companions of the Prophet. They were companions of the Prophet. You know, Ali was alive, and we understood and we learned why he didn't challenge the Khilafah. He didn't challenge it. I remember Ali as this big, bold, one swipe of a sword and he's killing 30 people, right? That's kind of like what we were kind of taught, right? And he stood 10 feet tall, and you know, he can the horses ride him, he doesn't ride a horse, you know, like that's the Ali, right? He could have easily challenged it. These were old men, but he didn't. So is there maybe a misunderstanding somewhere that I don't know, you don't know? We're reading books 1400 years later trying to understand, and then we're listening to scholars tell us how they feel or view the situation back then. You know, I don't know. I'm not a scholar. I know my faith. I know what I follow, and you know, I think if we can just tell both sides, okay, fine. I respect everybody. I respect all of your khulafa, no problem. I see them as leaders that taught and spread the faith of Islam and tried to their best of imperfect ability to do the Prophet's work on the ground, or do Allah's work on the ground, right? But imperfect, for sure. Can you now say the other to me on the other side? Can you say that? Can you acknowledge that he's your last Khalifa? If he's your last Khalif, right? And we have, let's go back to Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump, right? We have these last four presidents. Trump, anything he says, any law he writes is law. That's it. We have to follow Trump. You know, Biden opened the borders, let 30 million people in. Trump is kicking them right back out. It's his law. He's the law of the land. Now, if the U.S. dies today, the government dies today, and the last law that was written was the law of Trump, it still has to be the law we abide by, right? That's it. It's as simple as that to me. But they have scholars and we have scholars. And both sides of these scholars are teaching the wrong Islam. Rather than unifying, they divide. There's a right and there's a wrong, you know? But sometimes we don't have to always fight about it. We don't have to fight about it. It's a
Just
simple
do your thing.
Do your thing. You know? Just, okay, I respect your belief, bro. We don't challenge the Christian as much as we challenge the Sunni or the Shia. We don't challenge the Jew as much as we challenge each other. It's crazy. Well, that's crazy. You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Why? Why do we have to challenge each other?
Yeah.
Bro, do your thing. We follow the Quran and the Hadith. Go ahead. We do the same thing. We follow the Sunnah. You know? It's that simple to me. So I do think if people see it at its core, how simple it can be. It's a simple. Do you respect Jesus? Do you respect most of his disciples, Barnabas and all these other, the 11 minus the one? You respect them, right? Okay, do you respect the 12 apostles of Abraham? Yeah, we respect them. Even though, you know, Isaac, Ishaq, didn't tell his followers, hey, Ismail is my brother. You know, he's good. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, but we still respect him and love him. You know, we still respect all of the signs that Allah gave us. You know, so I don't know, man. I think it's easier said than done. You're right, but in my mind, it's when I see people love the faith as much as they love the faith, and then, you know, these little things, and they're major to some, and I get it and I respect it, but these little things are, you know, like
they're putting a bigger obstacle than there should be.
Big, man.
Yeah.
Big wall.
Yeah.
We don't need it, man.
During this holy month, one of the main pillars that we like to focus on, and we have to focus on, is donating and giving back. And often an issue with that comes is not knowing trusted organizations to give back to. That's why this Shahr Ramadan, Not From Here, is partnering up with Zahra Trust to give back to the people in need in Lebanon. Zahra Trust are on the ground. They're cleaning up. They're providing mental health assistance. They're providing aid directly to those in need. They already did a lot of work during this past war in Lebanon. But when it comes to war, there tends to be sometimes even more work after the war ends. And again, why I recommend donating through Zahra Trust is because the money will go directly to the people in need. If you do want to donate through the Zahra Trust, I'm going to have a direct link to do that in the description of this episode. So check that out. And now back to the episode.
I want to try this. Do you mind?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I want to try it. This is my first time trying this.
Yeah.
I've seen it all over Instagram. I've been wanting to.
I'll open my can too.
Yeah. I don't drink pop for the record, but I want to support this.
100% of the proceeds go straight to Palestine.
Alhamdulillah. بيستاهلوا. That's good. That's really good.
It's very smooth. It doesn't, there's like this, with the other colas, there's like this sting at the end where this one, I don't feel the sting.
Trying to read the ingredients. I can't see nothing nowadays, man. I'm too old.
Funny thing about the ingredients is I had 2 weeks ago, naturopathic doctor, Dr. Ahmed Ananian. And,
I love Ahmed.
Oh, do you know Ahmed?
Yeah, yeah.
He was reading the ingredients.
He's a hype kid.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, yeah.
He was reading the ingredients and he was telling me that there's actually an ingredient that's used in all the colas that's like really, really, really bad for you that's not in this.
Mm-hmm. Glycerin or something like that.
I'm not sure what it was, but part of the reason
it starts
is
with an A.
these are manufactured in Europe, and Europe have way stricter regulations on food. So this is like way cleaner.
Yeah,
than
that's good. I'm glad it's manufactured there, not here, because we wouldn't be able to pronounce them.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's a really good product. I recommend it to everybody.
Ali, when you start wanting to help a kid out, where do you start? Like, let's say I have my buddy, and I know on the low that he uses. Okay, you've been through this script too many times. Where have you found the best way to start when like trying to tackle this issue with someone?
Hasn't always worked, but a lot of times, more times it has than it hasn't. If it's a severe issue, we conduct a family intervention without the kid. So we have an intervention with all the siblings, aunts, uncles, whoever has to be there. We educate them on, on the substance that they're using, the side effects, the behaviors, and how to conduct an intervention. It's not easy, It's the user automatically assumes that you're going to come in and like be violent and, and angry and, point the finger and you're a crackhead and you're a drug dealer and da-da-da-da-da-da, when in fact an intervention has to be more about love, patience, and understanding, right? And once we explain that to the parents, they're like, oh, we've been doing that all wrong for the last 10 years. We've been beating him up or kicking him out and, not feeding him and, constantly throwing words of disappointment and anger and stuff. So, and then afterwards, we are able to successfully invite the person over for an intervention, and we talk to them. And I'd say like 8 times out of 10, they're very receptive. Sometimes you get the one who comes in high, and he's like, I don't need nothing. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good. Leave me alone, all of you. And in some cases, I don't know how sometimes I just tell the parents, hey, can you bring your son to hype? I'm busy. I'm like really tied up with time. I would love to talk to your son. Just bring him, or your daughter. Just bring him to hype. Come, I'll sit in my office. You can sit for the first 10 minutes, and then let me just talk to your child for an hour. Leave me alone. And I'll talk, and I'll get through to the kid. And it'll work.
How?
Like just patience.
What can a stranger could tell a kid that he hasn't already heard from his parents?
So a lot of people know who I am. More people know me than I know them.
Right.
Right. So hype is known. Everybody knows hype. Everybody in Dearborn Heights knows hype. So when they say, oh, that's the owner of hype. Yeah, okay. I'll talk to him. So they do. They give me the respect. Not always, but a lot of times. A lot of times, like 80%.
Is it like an old, older brother kind of respect where, like, oh, the owner of hype, he's successful, blah blah blah. Let me sit with him.
One factor is that, yeah. One factor is that. I think initially they may not feel like that, but my ability to listen, to understand, to relate, and to, you know, not criticize, using that sports thing, you know, not criticize, not demoralize, you know, help them understand what they're doing to themselves, and how can we get them into, you know, into treatment with love, understanding, and patience, you know, whether it's a family member or whether it's a stranger, you know, it's the same concept. And look, you know, sometimes, man, I went to a person's house and he wouldn't even come from downstairs or from upstairs. I'm sitting in the living room. He wouldn't even come talk to me, you know, and I thought it was going to be a knockout, easy. He wouldn't even come talk to me. So then I had to bring my teammate, Rabbi Darwish, and he was able to talk to him. So sometimes it's, you know.
Does tough love work, being a little aggressive with them?
You know, it's not just tough love. It's it does when they're cognitively there and they understand, you know.
Like you telling your kid, what the hell's wrong with you doing this? Like the kid that wanted to end his life, and you went to their house for the Lions game.
Oh my God!
And you were like, "What's wrong with you?" You're saying
when I heard and met with this kid and built a relationship with this kid, and I heard his story, which was something that I cannot repeat. You know, and I took him out to eat. He was like incredibly thankful. Went to Lashish, Michigan Avenue, and I just, listen, go, man. What's going on with you, bro? What's happening? Why you feel like you need these drugs? And then he tells me about what he did to himself, that the PTSD that related to that, nothing to do with his mom or dad. He did it to himself.
Oh, he had a problem.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I can't, you know, and I'm sorry, but I wish I can't tell you the story because the community may know, and I don't want to.
That's okay.
Haram.
Don't do that.
But nonetheless, you know, all we can do, and the strongest thing we can do is give our time and pray for this person. And, you know, as we, the easiest thing to say is Allah yahdil alam, you know, like, let's just let God guide them, you know, because it's up to him. He chooses who he pleases to receive the blessings, right? He chooses it. So hopefully God listens to us and relieves that person of that sorrow and that burden, you know, and he guides them.
How much more do you think you can handle?
Look, I'm 44, man, but I started working when I was 7 years old. That's a true testament, you know. You know, I'm seeing myself at times in certain areas working 10 times harder, and getting tired faster. You know, I still have a passion and a love for spending time with kids. So I try not to stop coaching. I still coach. Actually, I'm a coach for a 6th and 7th grade girls basketball team at Bryant Middle School. My daughter plays there, and they needed a coach. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. Last year they needed a coach, and I did it, you know. And my daughter played last year, but now she's at Dearborn High, and the next one came up. So, you know, I try to keep like in touch with my origins of where my passion started. But they're evolving, you know, like there's a whole population of individuals with disabilities, you know, and I don't know what it is, but I absolutely love this population, you know. They're innocent, they're pure, you know, they don't commit sin. They don't know how to commit sin, you know. So think about that population for a second, you know, like I want to help them. You know, I want to be a part of their lives. Maybe I'll get some of what they have, you know. So we created a very large vocational training program, and job training and job skills development and job placement and all that good stuff for people with disabilities. And I've taken the lead on that division wholeheartedly. And, you know, it's a great feeling. It's a great outcome. To answer your question, like I find ways to revive my passion, you know, so I'll go as long as I can go. I'm preparing for that day.
Okay.
You know, I'm preparing for that day.
It almost seems like, from what you're saying, like you barely have time though. Like
Yeah,
you're
there's
very,
late
like
there's
it
late
sounds
days.
very busy.
Yeah, there's late days. I mean, Jaafar, there's construction at all of our sites, and things go down. Like the major projects, I still feel like I'm a part of. From the design, the fundraising, the budgeting, the contracting, all the above. I'm still hands on. With all of that program development, but I've evolved, and now I've not only trained my team, but have relied heavier on my team. I've let go of the reins and said, look, just do me a favor. I'm going to give you this basketball league to run. I'm going to have you be the coordinator of this league to run. And you're going to be over the membership division. And you're going to be over the staffing and operations and scheduling. And you're going to be over this. And you're going to be over. So I'm very lucky, to have a team around me that has very similar characteristics. All of them have very similar characteristics. The time management, money management, the two aspects of business that must be successful, right? And once you start to release yourself of certain responsibilities, time-wise, it's good. You start to like breathe, more time on yourself, more time to reflect. And then the money management was my ultimate blessing. I was able to find Hajima Haseba, whose husband was a childhood friend, grew up together, and this is the most honest person that's afraid to mismanage a penny. If you have someone like that, and you don't have to worry about the money within this organization, like it's hers, and like everything is halal or haram in her eyes, it cannot deviate.
Yeah.
And puts me in check, like, hey, you can't do that. Like, oh, okay, so the money management part is good. Obviously, the money management doesn't include the creativity of generating revenue for sustainability and operations. So that's on me. I like that role because that's the business side of me, right? I like to generate strategic revenue solutions for our organization. And
that's what you've been doing since day one.
That's what I've been doing. Yeah, building relationships and expanding and helping Hype make more money so we can do better for the community. And recently, never before, this has never been except for this year, we received a substantial amount of funding from the state, Department of Education, for their recognition. They recognize us as a leader in after-school programming, fulfilling kids' times after school. And we are dedicated to that year-round, and we received a substantial amount of money. And I said, look, it's we can keep all this money and just start offering the programs that we've been offering and just pay for all the services we've been offering. But I think there's efforts by different school districts that have wonderful after-school programs, but they don't have the money for it, and they're about to die if we don't give them the money for it. So in Wayne Westland schools, they have an elementary athletics program, and they're about to shut it down. They don't have the money for it. So I said, hey, you're not shutting anything down. Here's $135,000, not $5,000 or $10,000. We allocated $135,000 to this entity, and now almost 5,000 kids are playing flag football, cheerleading, basketball, soccer, track and field for elementary students. I learned this program, and I'm like, I wanted to do this in Dearborn for 11 years. I've tried every year to try to get elementary athletics, let Hype run elementary athletics. So this year, I went to the district and I said, guys, I got this money. I need to do this program for you. It's going to be free for your kids, almost free, like $25 a kid. And they accepted it, and they supported it, and they love it. The feedback is tremendous. We have some parent issues, but it happens. At least we're not having issues with coaches. It could be way worse. These are just competitive parents, that want their kids to win. It's crazy. I was watching camera footage of how one father was literally running up and down the sidelines, cheering on his kid, just innocent stuff. Right. Yeah, good job, play defense. Nothing mean or aggressive or anything like that. But It's nice. And then we allocated almost $250,000 for Dearborn Schools elementary athletics. And then we also funded their robotics program. Initially, we don't have nothing to do with robotics, but we said this is important because not every kid wants to play basketball or football or whatever. Let's go. Let's do robotics, you know? And then we did that for Crestwood schools. We also funded in Crestwood close to 200 and some odd $1,000, but we funded an EA sports program. You know, the games, the video game sports, you know, which has become a, like they can get full ride scholarships.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and again, not every kid likes to play or can play sports. And, you know, it's like 1% of the student body in any high school play sports. The rest are just students.
Right.
You know, so, you know, with that kind of.
Are we getting into that? The esports?
Oh, yeah. We
Okay.
funded a whole program in Crestwood.
Oh, wow.
High school and middle school.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, you know, has it paid off? You know, has Allah blessed us? Yes. You know, do we protect ourselves from the deception that, you know, that could have been other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yes, we protect ourselves from that. But we celebrate, you know, the success of our organization with our whole community. It's not just me. It's not our main leadership team. It's not our board. It's the entire community. It's the parents. It's the sponsors. I've had sponsors that have been sponsoring Hype for 24 years.
Wow.
Wallah. Wallah, wallah, wallah. So much so I feel bad even asking them, but they want to give. They're like, this is the only thing we would give to because we see it.
Yeah.
It's filled with kids. This is what we want to support. I don't want to support anything else. So, you know, 24 years of great grassroots success, you know, from the seed planting to seeing this forest of memories for all these kids, and it's just a forever blossoming thing. And all I can pray for, inshallah, is that the organization is protected for 100 years, because I need to see in my grave, I want to see Hype grow.
Right.
You know, no different than Henry Ford saw the Ford car grow. You know, and that's what I would love to see for our community. And I pray that, you know, Allah gives me the power to open Hype in different communities all across the country. You know, that for populations that could use it and benefit, because every kid can.
Mm.
Every single kid can.
You've witnessed it firsthand too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It seems like the question that everyone wants to ask themselves before they go to bed, and that's what I want to ask you. Are you happy?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very happy.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
That's good.
I mean, the answer probably everybody wants to hear is, no, I'm depressed, I'm stressed out, but
I don't think they have to be or this or that. I think it can be I'm stressed out and I'm happy that I'm stressed out. Like, so you just went on like a 5-minute rant talking about these programs and what you're doing. Those don't happen without stress. These are not like on a silver platter type of things that you do where you wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. I want to go to Crestwood, do the e-gaming. I want to give $135,000 to save this. Like, these are not like you're sitting in the garden thinking about this stuff. This is like, no, like in the trenches, stressful. You need to make this work. You make moves, you make phone calls to make stuff like this work. So it is stressful, but you are happy. So it's not stressful or happy. It's stressful and happy.
Sure. It's a good way to break it down. I don't view stress entirely as a positive.
Okay.
You know?
I thought you would say otherwise.
I view it as a negative because I think I'm a different breed because I'm doing what I love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's different. You know, I was in Lansing all day till almost midnight last night. You know, meeting different politicians and telling our story and Did I want to do that? Probably not, but I didn't see it as stressful. You know, there's, we're building an addition at Hype, and, obviously we have to fundraise. We have some funding that we've been able to get grants and save, and, a lot of generous donors, but we still have to fundraise, and we need to get this money somehow, some way, right? That's stressful, because I want to ask the community for support, but I know you have family in Lebanon. I have family in Lebanon.
Yeah.
That $500 you're about to give me, they need it 10 times more. That's stressful. I can't ask you. I can't ask someone whose family is from Palestine or someone whose family is in Syria right now. Who am I going to ask? That's stressful. So then I rely on the big corporations. But it's a who you know type game. And, you got to know somebody that can say, yeah, of course. We'll do that for you, not for Ali. We'll give them $100,000 to help build this facility, and we can put Ford Motor Company on it, But am I going to have an opportunity to sit with someone at Ford, for example, for an hour to tell them the story, to be like, yeah, I love what you do. Here's a check. I'm not going to have that. There's some stress.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Jaafar, if I can tell you the trials we've went through, that I personally have gone through, and the surrendering to Allah is real. It really is. Fighting the jihad, fighting the shaitan in you, that internal struggle, it's real, and I fought it.
Are you saying like the distractions, fighting it, or like submitting to like God's will? Like, I did my best and now I'm just leaving it up to God. Which one are you talking about?
That surrendering to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He wills. You sacrifice for Him in the way of Allah, and you leave it be. The restaurant I owned, the Chaldean owners had so much respect for me when I presented my plan to them, that they never charged me rent for 5 years. For 5 years. The 6th year, they tell me, Ali, we need to get a liquor license. This is in 2005.
In the store, they want to sell liquor.
In the hotel.
In the hotel.
They want me to sell alcohol. And I said, guys, you guys are Iraqi or Chaldean. I can't sell alcohol. It's haram. I can't sell it. It's no question. I'm not doing it. How about this, guys? I'll get the license. You get the license. I'll manage it. I'll staff it for you. And you can make all the profit. Take it all. I don't want $1 from it. I'll just do the food. You guys do the restaurant. And I'll manage it for you, man. I'll get you the staff. I'll get you the bartenders. Whatever you guys need, you manage it. Or I'll manage it. You keep the profit. And they declined. They said, no, you have to get the license in your name. We don't want our name on it. Imagine you're making $200K or more a year. Wallah. Imagine that. Just like that. Snap of a finger. You're about to lose everything. Your family relied on it. My brother's working there. My sister was working. Like, we were working. All of us were working. When I say my family, my dad worked. The family was good. My brothers worked. Everyone had jobs, but it brought extra comfort for everybody,
right?
To not be burdened a little bit,
yes.
And that whole year, I mean, imagine you got the devil saying you could make an extra $300,000 a year. Open up the bar, just take it. I actually printed the application. I remember I have the alcohol application. I was going to actually fill it out. That's how tough the fight was. And I overcame that. Man. How? I just said, Allah.
But you printed the application.
I printed the application, but I didn't fill it out. I didn't submit it.
But you were very close.
That's the shaitan I had to fight.
So how do you go back from that? Tell me, walk me through that process.
Every day I'm driving to work. Every day I'm driving home. Boom, boom, boom. Talking to myself. Like, Allah, like, please, I don't want to do this. I'm doing this for you. Like, I'm not going to do alcohol. I don't want alcohol. Just please give me something in exchange. Please look out for me. Please let me have something that's going to make me proud and make you proud. Please, please, please. Like, begging him. And then the shaitan talking to him like, you mother, you're not going to beat me. You're not going to win. I'm not going to surrender to you. I don't care about your money. I don't care about all your girls and all the shit you're going to bring to me. with this stuff. I don't want it. I don't want nothing to do with it. And I won. I lost the restaurant. I got $2,400 when I left that restaurant. My dad loaned me $2,400 when I was 18 years old to buy the inventory from that restaurant. It's exactly what I walked away from. Wallah, that's a true story.
$200,000 and you walked away with $2,400.
$2,400. That was what I sold my inventory for. I didn't own it. They never charged me rent. I didn't own nothing. I was just there. You know?
How did God make it up for you?
Hype. That summer, put my head to the books and I started writing up programs and plans, and I started the first summer basketball league in 2005. I started soccer leagues. I still have this book. I added more tournaments. I added more cities. I went to Livonia, Allen Park, Hamtramck, Detroit. I had 12 cities. We were kicking ass. I was everywhere. That year, I made, in one summer, as much revenue as I made the whole year at the restaurant. Not profit, revenue.
Yeah.
You know? I didn't pay myself $60,000 a year up until like 2011, you know? So, and it was a very, very large organization. I mean, in 2009, I was serving like 4,000 kids in tutoring, just after school tutoring, 4,000 kids, you know? So that was how God, you know, gave me back what you know, the deal I made with him.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, I'm doing this for you, Allah. Like, please, man. You know, don't, you know, and that's straight up how I talked to him. And he listened and he heard me, man. I remember, you know, my credit cards were maxed out and, you know, because Hype wasn't making like a high profit for me. I didn't have the heart to, like, we weren't charging a lot anyways, you know. So I remember my credit cards maxed out. Like, I'd make a minimum payment just to go out to eat with that card, you know. I remember those days. They were good. They're good trials, man. But I never worried one time.
Yeah.
Never worried one time. I was too smart to, like, feel like I was gonna. I'll go cut grass for money if I had to.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't care. There's no shame. You know. I remember in 2008, I called a childhood mentor and older brother to me, Muhammad Moseba, who's on my board now and has been for the last like 15 years. And I said, hey, Mo, I hear these personal bankers, man, they're making like 50 grand a year, 2008, you know, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, can you please give me a job? I just got married. I got a daughter. I mean, Hype is doing well, but it's not like, I can't pay myself that much. It's not like enough, you know, maybe 30, 40 grand then, you know. And you had a lifestyle and you're now living this lifestyle. It's rough, you know. And he's like, come here, let me talk to you. So I go to his office and I was like, yeah, man, Mo, I would love to work here, man. I think I can do great here, you know. And he's like, there's no way you're getting a job. I'm never giving you a job at Chase. Get the F out of here. You go focus on Hype. You got something great. Just go focus on it. And I was heartbroken, man.
Wow.
I was like, damn, Mo. I've known you, man. Your sister and I went to school together since kindergarten. Like, I've known you my whole life almost, you know. What are you doing? He used to train me. He was a college football player. He used to go to the park, and he used to train me and his nephews at the park. We used to work out with them. I was like 8, 9 years old. It was awesome. So, you know, it was harsh initially. I didn't know that. But we laugh about that today, you know. It's like, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that day. I knew what you had.
Yeah.
I knew what type of person you were, and you had to go through that struggle. You're worth more than that. You know, you're more valuable to the community than $50,000. So that year, when I took specific classes in college at Central Michigan, and I learned how to write a grant, and I wrote the first grant. It was like $20,000. And then the following year, it was like I got $360,000 in grants, then 1.8, then 7 million. We built a brand new facility, and you know, we're doing great. We're serving kids, we're serving families, and we're growing and growing and growing. I still never paid myself near what I should have earned. I was still like at the very low threshold, but I didn't care because I didn't do it for the money. But you know, I don't think I sacrificed my kids or my wife, my family, because we still did what we had to do. You know, we still vacationed and did whatever we did, you know, but it was a check to check type lifestyle, you know, for a long time.
But it's great looking back on right now.
It is, and I look at kids today that are like so hungry, and I love it. You know, they're so hungry, but they only want to be rich. And success isn't measured in money. It never was. We're allowing it to be.
We're doing that.
Yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was a fantastic conversation. I think we can go on for 3 more hours, to be
Yeah,
honest
of
with you.
course. There's so much to talk about.
But we'll do this again.
Inshallah.
Habibi, thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you.
What's up?